supporting neurodivergent learners on campus.
I'm Scott Bellman. I'm the manager of the Do It Center at the University of Washington. When I think about the term neurodiversity, I think about all of the human brains on the planet and how they are all unique and very different from one another. And when I think about the term neurodivergent, I more often think about brains that perceive the world differently, or brains that process differently or learn differently. And those types of brains may be with people who experience conditions such as a learning disability, perhaps, or attention deficit disorder, or maybe someone who is on the autism spectrum, or some other condition where their brain operates a little differently than what some people refer to as neurotypical, or a more common type of processing.
My name is Kim Thompson. I'm the Senior Director of Disability Services at Seattle University. We have for a long time been able to support students in wheelchairs, students who need Braille, but we haven't really addressed how do we help the invisible disabilities? How do we support, and not just support, but how do we facilitate the success of neurodiverse learners on the post-secondary campus?
Challenges facing neurodivergent learners.
My name is Marky. I am a second-year student. I'm studying atmospheric science with a minor in chemistry. I've always known that I was dyslexic. I've been struggling with it since elementary school. And I didn't get my autism diagnosis until I was 18. I think the most important thing for faculty to know about neurodiverse learners is that every case is a special case. Sometimes I need more time with assignments. I get very little sleep regularly because it takes me a longer time to do the assignments than my neurotypical peers because, well, it'll be so hard for me to read.
My name is Rhonda Jensen, and I am an associate professor at Northern Arizona University. I think it's really important that our post-secondary programs, colleges, universities, whether community colleges to graduate programs, recognize our neurodiverse learners as part of their overall commitment to the diversity of all of their learners, the diversity of their community of learners. We like to say that moving forward, our universities are going to see an increase in neurodiverse learners. I hope that's really true, but I also think there are a lot of neurodiverse learners who are already in our universities, and we could help better support them.
My name is Ray. I'm dyslexic and spelling is hard. I will forget when I write the rest of the sentences I'm trying to spell and have it be legible.
Hi, I'm Piper. I'm going to be a sophomore at Western Washington University. I had a teacher when I was, I think either early high school, that insisted that we handwrite all of our documents for this particular class, and they all needed to be in this one notebook. And I spoke up. I went up and tried to advocate for myself, and I said, I have dysgraphia. This is really a challenge for me. So I think that's one thing that I've encountered as a student is teachers who get caught up in some of the methods of doing things and are, maybe unintentionally get stuck on that.
How faculty can support neurodivergent learners.
My name is Shannon Garcia. I'm the program manager of Access, Text, and Technology at Disability Resources for Students here at the University of Washington. I think the most important thing for faculty to know about supporting neurodivergent learners or supporting neurodiverse approaches to education is that almost any change that they make to a part of their class or almost anything that they implement on behalf of one specific neurodivergent student, honestly, is going to help almost all the students in their class. And so a lot of the things that we recommend, although they might be accommodations for a particular student, honestly, good universal design is really what's going to make the biggest difference for a lot of students. Making your syllabus as clear as possible, making your assignments and your assignment schedules and your reading schedule as clear as possible. And that will greatly benefit both your neurodivergent learners because then they can plan ahead, but that's going to benefit every single person in your class. Because one of the most confusing things for a lot of neurodivergent students, especially in a higher ed environment, is not doing the homework, it's finding the homework.
I'm Lindsay Osrin. With papers, I was always losing them. Like, I'd stuff them into my notebook or like in my backpack, and it's like, well, I totally forgot about that. So I was always missing assignments too, or like finding out that they were due wait, that's due tomorrow? When did that happen?
Students also tell us that not all settings are conducive to their learning. So sometimes faculty can have flexibility in the environment. So it might be a classroom space, how it's set up, is there choice and where students sit? Do they have options to move around while thinking and learning? Do they have options to orient their body to the learning, whether it's on a slide, a video, a group settings? Sometimes it's about preference of windows and daylight, where the door is. Students also tell us that navigating a group project can be difficult or nearly impossible, but that doesn't mean they don't want to do it. So often the neurodiverse learner, we make a presumption of they don't do social well, so they don't want to do it, and that's not the case. They want to do the social aspects of learning. They want to learn alongside their peers.
My name is Cameron. I plan on attending Central Washington University for engineering in the fall. So my teacher was like trying to check in on people, like seeing who worked well with who, and put people who were like more willing to help with people who maybe needed more help.
I'm Christine. I use she, her pronouns. I, for the University of Washington, work at the Disability Resources for Students office, or DRS office for UW Seattle. I am the intake coordinator. I identify as ADHD, neurodivergent. And so for faculty, I think it's really important to stay in tune with what your students need. For every single quarter, semester, whatever it might be, every single student, every single class is going to be a little bit different.
Nobody's asking them to modify standards. Nobody's asking them to reduce the curriculum that they're teaching. We're asking them to think differently about how to assess learning. We're asking them to think differently about finding ways for students to show what they know. And in doing that, I really believe retention for all students increases.
Be really, really patient, and also willing to listen to what students need. And maybe if you have pre-made notes or something, it can be really useful, because I know for me, the way my brain works is that, yes, I theoretically can take notes, but sometimes my brain can't separate the very important things from the random things. But just being patient and being able to, and willing to go slow and repeat. And maybe breaking down tasks or stuff.
If you get a large enough group of people together, it is all but guaranteed that some people of that group will have neurodiverse characteristics. And when you think about a large college campus, the same applies. These neurodivergent learners are on our campuses, they are in our dorms, they're participating in social activities, and we really need to understand ways to support them and let them know that we value them and we welcome them in our communities.
I had one teacher that let me take her chemistry exams on a whiteboard, and it radically transformed my success as a chemistry student. It was incredible. And so, just those willingnesses to try new approaches transformed my school experience.
So some things my professors have done that have actually helped with that would be using larger text, easier to read fonts, shorter paragraphs, color coding things, anything to distinguish the ideas from each other.
We know there's a need in the STEM workforce. We know there's a need for creative problem solving, noticing and looking at solutions that others may overlook. And our neurodiverse students who have a different way of thinking, learning, processing, noticing the world around them adds richness to learning and eventually enrichness to our STEM workforce.
We are trying to slowly transform an institution that can be accessible to them. And it's a good thing because these are incredibly creative and interesting minds that bring new approaches to problems that we haven't had before. And so we want that. That's something that we need.
They bring a lot of strengths to the table. They can be incredibly creative. They can be very direct in their communication. They can be very passionate about certain topics. They can be very persistent, incredibly persistent learners, and many more strengths. And while every human being is different, the neurodiverse learners really do bring some unique talents to the campus, and I really hope that faculty members keep that in mind when they're interacting with them.
To learn more about how you can support neurodiverse learners, visit the Neuroscience for Neurodiverse Learners website hosted by the University of Washington, uw.edu/doit/programs/NNL. Neuroscience for Neurodiverse Learners provides hands-on experiences in neuroscience disciplines, networking opportunities, and resources to high school and early post-secondary students identified as neurodiverse learners. The Neuroscience for Neurodiverse Learners project is funded by the National Science Foundation, grant number DRL-1948591. Any questions, findings, and conclusions or recommendations expressed in this material are those of the author and do not necessarily reflect the views of the federal government. Copyright 2024, University of Washington. Permission is granted to copy these materials for educational, non-commercial purposes, provided the source is acknowledged.